This is the country analysis for Finland for Group 1. Group 1 consists of Mario Perkovic, Dejan Rosic, Dragan Rosic, Rochelle Surratt, and Ivory Carey. Finland gained independence December 6, 1917. It defended itself from Russia and Sweden during invasions during the Second World War. It spent many of its early years under Swedish and Russian rule during the 12th century all the way up to the 19th century. It was under the rule of both countries as a province and a grand duchy. Finland runs as a federal parliamentary republic. The president, Sauli Niinistö, has been in office since 2012. The prime minister, Sanna Marin, has been in office since 2019. The legislative power is divided between the Council of State and Parliament. The Valtioneuvosto is the Council of State, and the Eduskunta is the Parliament. Finland is situated in the northeastern part of Europe. It is situated also between Sweden and Russia and borders the Baltic Sea. It also creates the Gulf of Finland. The capital of Helsinki is situated on the southern coast. The climate is cold and temperate and has the potential to turn subarctic. This is prevented only due to the North Atlantic Current, which makes the climate much milder. The terrain is low with flat rolling hills and plains, and the country also has over 60,000 lakes. Finland has a population of just over 5.5 million residents. The population is mostly Finnish ethnically, with Swedish, Russian, and Estonians also making up smaller ethnic groups. The population density is 19 citizens per kilometer. The median age is 42.8 years, with a life expectancy of 81.3 years.
In Finland, the typical working days for business is Monday to Friday, with 15 holidays per year, and the Finnish people accrue 2 days of annual vacation for every 1 month worked, so that equates to around 3 weeks paid vacation per year on average. The average Finnish worker works 35 to 40 hours a week, while some workers could be working anywhere from 41 to 50 hours a week, and other workers can work less than 34 hours weekly. Lunch is 1 to 2 hours, depending on the employer, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the long lunches are used for business interactions. Overtime is more common than part-time. The business culture in Finland can be described as verbal. The Finnish people are very verbal in their business operations, with many languages that are being spoken, primarily English, Finnish, and Swedish. Your word is your bond, and what you handshake with verbal interaction could be taken as the same strength as a written contract. Person-to-person communication is essential, and meetings are viewed as relationship-building opportunities. The official languages spoken in Finland are Finnish and Swedish, where 87.6% of the population speak Finnish, 5.2% speak Swedish, 1.4% speak Russian, and 5.8% speak a mixture of other languages. The official business languages in Finland are Finnish and Swedish, where English is the most popular foreign language and it is used for international business. It can also be found in many businesses, since there are very many individuals in Finland that are multilingual and highly educated. And it's not uncommon to see that most navigational signs and literature in Finland are in Finnish or Swedish. And if you have a problem communicating, the Finnish people are very kind and would be able to help you out. The literacy rate in Finland is 99%, and this could be attributed to the large emphasis on education. The Finnish people are very well educated and are often multilingual, so this is one of the prime reasons why the literacy rate is so high. It's among the highest in the world. There are 2 main time zones that Finland falls under, UTC plus 2 and UTC plus 3. UTC plus 2 is Eastern European time, and UTC plus 3 is Eastern European summertime. And this one is used when daylight savings is in force, and that will start on 29 March 2020. They are 7 hours ahead of the Eastern Standard Time. The official currency in Finland is the euro, and the current exchange rate is 1.08 euros to $1.
In terms of GDP power, Finland is economically middle of the road both in Europe and in the world, ranked 62nd at $244.9 billion GDP annually. That puts it in company with Sri Lanka being ahead of it at 61, and Uzbekistan, Ethiopia, Angola, Ecuador, Oman, New Zealand, Slovakia, and Belarus being rounding out that 10 countries between 61 and 70. If we look at this chart, we see that Finland is highlighted in blue, which puts it at 62 in this chart, 61 being Sri Lanka at $275 billion annual, and with Belarus all the way on the other side being the lowest amount at 179 billion. That gives it roughly a $96 billion difference between the 61st country in the world and the 70th country in the world, with everybody else right there in the right around the area, with Finland being 244.9, Uzbekistan being 223 billion, uh, Ethiopia at 200, uh, Angola at 193.6, Ecuador at 193, Oman at 190.1, New Zealand at 189, Slovakia at 179.7, and then Belarus rounding it out at 179.4. So it's roughly they're very close together economically, these 10 countries, with any bit of added influx of competitiveness anyone could move around in this ranking, including Finland moving up past Sri Lanka and into the same territory where Denmark is, which is just ahead at 60th in the world with $287.8 billion. Finland's GDP growth has been very consistent over the past few years, with a small increase in 2015 of 0.1%, moving to a ginormous influx to 2.5% in 2016 and 2.8% in 2017. That gives it a huge growth between 2015 and 16 and a steady growth between 2016 and 2017, with the CIA World Factbook stating that the growth will continue between 2 and 3% in the coming years. Uh, Finland's GDP per capita is 44,500 in 2017, which is a growth from 42,500 in 2015. This is a growth rate of 4.7% between those years, putting it at 38th in the world currently. GDP is composed of many areas, from government expenditures to household consumption to investments and imports and exports. Uh, so to look at Finland, we see that 54.4% is the household income, which is by far the largest portion in terms of consumption between the government and household. You see the government composition being 22.9%, investment in fixed capital being 22.1, investment in inventories is 0.4%, which is a positive growth compared to Italy and Germany, who had a negative growth. Um, you see that exports of goods and services is at 38.5, and imports of goods and services at negative 38.2, which means that they import almost as much goods as they export. This is something that if they can increase the exports, they can Finland can build themselves to be more competitive and improve their economic situation even further. Looking at this chart, it basically shows an illustration of that information from the previous slide, with household consumption being 54.4% being on the far left of the chart, and imports of goods and services being that negative trending number of negative 38.2% on the far right. You see the remaining remaining areas of GDP composition by end user are all positive, including that very tiny sliver of 0.4% from the investments in inventories. To round that out again, we have government consumption at 22.9%, investment in fixed capital at 22.1%, and exports of goods and services at 38.5%. Without production, there is no economy. You have to be able to build things and sell things to make and grow your economic strength. Uh, the CIA World Factbook breaks down these sectors into three major categories, which are agriculture, industry, and services. Agricultural is anything that produces food, livestock, granary, um, anything that falls into that agriculture subset of industry. Industry is anything manufacturing, so your automotive, your electrical equipment, and other things like that that are produced by industrial means. And then services are anything that doesn't fall into that category, so transportation, logistics, accounting, lawyers, anything that falls into a service-minded industry. Uh, in terms of Finland, agriculture makes up 2.7% of their GDP composition. Industry makes up 28.2%, and services make up 69.1%. So nearly 70% of their GDP composition comes from services. Here we see an excellent illustration of the previous information from the slide before, with services making up nearly 70% of total GDP composition. You see it in white. They're just being an overwhelming number comparatively to industry being at 28.2%, which is that dark blue Finnish flag color there, making up with agriculture in light blue being at 2.7%, coming out to 30.9%. So not even a third of all industry uh, combined with agriculture makes up the GDP composition of Finland. Finland produces a wide variety of items from their agricultural and industrial sectors, with agricultural producing barley, wheat, sugar beets, potatoes, dairy cattle, and fish. And while on the industrial sector, they make metals and metal products, electronics, machinery, and scientific instruments, shipbuilding, pulp, and paper. They have a very large wood industry and a forestry industry in Finland. Foodstuffs, chemicals, textiles, and clothing. Finland has a wide variety of export partners, with the top 10 making up the majority of all exports that Finland has. Uh, these these countries that our partners are Germany at 13%, Sweden at 9.4%, the United States at 7.9%, Netherlands at 6.6%, China at 5.6%, Russia at 5.5%, the United Kingdom at 4.6%, France at 3.5%, and Norway and Estonia tied for 2.5% each in terms of exports. Here we see that those 10 countries illustrated in a pie chart compared to the rest of the export partners that Finland has. In dark gray, you see that the top 10 countries make up nearly 2/3 of all exports that Finland has, with Germany and Sweden being in the top two, along with Estonia and Norway down at the time, making up two slivers that total about 5%. Finland's major exports include transportation equipment, chemicals, metal, paper, pulp, timber, minerals, machinery, electrical equipment, and optical equipment. So they have a wide variety of industrial production that goes into exports. Many of the same countries that make up their Finland's export partners are also Finland's major import partners. with Germany making up 16%, Russia at 13%, Sweden at 10%, China at 7.7%, the Netherlands at 5.7%, France at 3.7%, the United States at 3.1%, the United Kingdom at 2.9%, Poland at 2.8%, which is tied with Estonia at 2.8%, making up 5.6% together. Like the major export partners, the major import partners make up over 2/3 of the total imports that Finland has, with Germany and Russia and Sweden making up nearly 1/3 on their own. You see in the dark gray the remainder of the countries outside of the top 10 make up 32.3% of the remaining imports. Finland imports a wide variety of items as well as they export. They import items such as transportation equipment and foodstuffs, petroleum and petroleum products, chemicals, iron and steel, textile, yarn and fabrics, machinery, computers, electronic industry products, foodstuffs, and grain.
The school system in Finland consists of 4 tiers. Pre-primary education is available for children aged 3 to 6. Basic education is a 9-year program starting at the age of 7. Upper secondary education branches off on 2 paths: general education and vocational education, both lasting about 3 years. Higher education, or college, is free and also branches out in 2 directions: universities and universities of applied sciences. Property rights in Finland are not federally enforced. It is solely the responsibility of the owner to enforce its protection. Intellectual property rights are granted for a limited amount of time. The legal system in Finland originated during the period of Swedish rule, back in the 1700s. The court system contains 3 levels: lower courts, Court of Appeals, and Supreme Court. Judges in Finland are appointed for life or until the age of 70. Innovation in Finland is heavily into the technology sector. With very little ties to Silicon Valley or Asia, Finland isn't quite on the forefront in the world, but is quickly going within Europe. Transportation in Finland is accomplished with buses, taxis, ferries, cars, bicycles, trains, and airplanes. When traveling around Finland, the transportation system is set up to be extremely easy, even for foreigners, with taxis being government regulated and always under a predetermined vehicle age. There are 454,000 kilometers of roads in Finland, 78,000 kilometers being highways, 26,000 kilometers of municipal streets, and 350,000 kilometers of private/forest roads.
Finland's healthcare system is ranked 4th best in comparison to all other EU countries. It has the lowest mortality rate among women, children, and men. It offers exceptional healthcare benefits to international students. It has 450 municipalities, and each municipality has the duty to arrange healthcare for its citizens. Mostly provides public health care, but does provide a small percentage of private health care. Finland is divided into 20 hospital districts, each of which offers specialist advice and care for its population. In early years, there were approximately only 19,000 doctors in Finland. As of today, there are roughly 30,000. More than half of those practicing doctors are actually women, with a small percentage being male. One doctor is typically responsible for a minimum of 2,000 patients, 305 acute care hospital beds per 100,000 population in 2015, which is the lowest in the EU. Since 2000, the total number of hospital beds has been reduced by almost 40% in efforts to control costs and improve efficiency.